It's time. It's live stream time once again. Let me know in chat if you can hear me, like, clearly. If there are any issues. If not, then I can begin. I'm just gonna assume you guys can hear me. Nobody actually responded to that in chat, but like I just checked myself, and at least I can hear myself if I open the stream, so I'm probably audible. Anyway, AC asked, that's an adorable animation, did I make it myself? Thanks, and yes, I made it myself. I made it in Blender. I recorded the whole process of making the animation, and then I proceeded to not make a video out of it because, like, I don't want to just make a time lapse. I want to actually explain my process a bit more, and I don't like editing, and I don't like recording voiceover. So now I just have all the footage in an editing file and have not started editing it. And right now I'm working on applying for uni, so it's probably gonna be sometime after that, like end of February or something, until it actually starts going out. Anyway, welcome Brazil, and thanks for liking my work, I guess. Also, thanks Zero the Panda for letting me know you can hear me. Very helpful. And AC. Also, hi Board Dog, hi Dean. I'll assume it's Struppe. It might also be Struppe. But my instinct is to read it in German, so I'm gonna go with Struppe. And hi Merzelli. So, without further ado, let us switch to the main screen and continue work on this sculpt. It's gonna be the same sculpt that I worked on in the last two streams, because I started it in live streams. I feel like I should finish it up in a live stream. So, here it is. Yeah. This is how she looks. Looks exactly the way the way I left her last time. If you want to see how the rest of the process happened, feel free to watch the other streams. There's a lot of me doing nothing and just talking to chat, but maybe I'll like make a time lapse out of them or something. Who knows? Anywho, and this one I'm gonna, like it should say in the title, question mark. Yeah, sculpting and painting. I'm gonna paint the model. There's not a whole lot of sculpting left to do, and I can always do that while I'm painting or after I'm painting. So anyway, in order to paint the model, I'm gonna need the Sculpt mode Vertex Colors. And those aren't currently in Blender 3.0, so I'm gonna be downloading the Sculpt mode branch, I guess, build. I could have done that before stream, and I didn't. Not because I was lazy, but because I wanted to show you guys where it is, just in case. Like, in case you guys, like, don't know where to find it, but anywho. So here under downloads, then, what's his face? I think it was Podridge reminded me last time that under downloads, under experimental builds, there's the branch section. And here, gonna go with the Sculpt dev, let's say. It might be in Sculpt Colors too, but that's older, so I'm just gonna assume it's in Sculpt dev. So yeah. Also Edgar, thanks, and Foxcan. I don't know much about Kazakhstan. I mostly know that it exists and is a country. So yeah. Now that I have downloaded the zip file, I'm just gonna open it up for my downloads. Oh, it's not in my downloads. I accidentally downloaded it into my add-ons. Wait, let me grab it from there. Blender. Here. Add-ons. And it's also still downloading. So once it's downloaded, I'll unzip it and then I can start painting. And it looks like it's finished downloading. I'm very quiet today. Sorry, I have a bit of a headache and I'm a bit distracted right now. But let's see here. It's the zip file for the Blender 2. Not 2. It's 3.0 now. Wow. 3.1 whatever. Gonna just remove the file from it, the folder from it. Drag it onto my desktop. And yeah. Yeah. So about Kazakhstan, yeah. Apparently there's protests and stuff. I haven't been keeping up with world news. I probably should, but it always like stresses me out. So yeah. Anywho, it is still moving the files. I should have probably just done this before stream. But oh well, now it's too late. Because I don't actually have a version of Blender currently. Well, I have an old alpha of 3.0, but I think it messes up with my settings when I keep using that. So I'm just gonna wait till this extracts properly. Okay, it has finally finished downloading. So now I can open the exe, like open the file and just click on the exe and that should open Blender. Great, now we can finally start with the thing I was actually gonna do. And Yeah. Zero the Panda, yeah, you tried out ReTopoflow and it was much faster. Yeah, it's definitely, if you're doing a lot of retopology, it's definitely worth it. Obviously, it's a bit expensive if you're just like working as a hobbyist, let's say. But yeah, it's definitely a lot faster than the default tools. Though I think they're actually planning on adding some of the tools that are in ReTopoflow to Blender default, which is really cool. Edgar asks, what's my favorite sculpt tool? Theirs is Elastic Deform. Honestly, Elastic Deform is really good. I think for me, the main two are probably Elastic Deform and clay strips. Clay strips is just like basic sculpt brush, but it's a basic for a reason. And like crease is kind of important. Crease and smooth are really important for my workflow, I guess. Everything else is just kind of an extra add-on on top. I could probably also live without Elastic Deform, to be honest. It's just fun to use. But yeah. Also, there's a bunch of tools here that I have not looked at ever yet. But there's paintbrushes, which is what I was looking for. Also slightly messed up, which is a problem. I might have to switch to an older version of Blender if this doesn't work. Yeah, something's messed up about the brush. Rip. Should have tried this out before stream, but whatever. You aren't here to see a professional. Yeah. Okay, wait, let me see if there's just like a setting with a brush that needs to be fixed, but it doesn't look like it. Yeah, for some reason it's messing up with my pressure sensitivity. Yeah, so yeah, I'm gonna move back to an older alpha I have installed and just work in there. You might also be able to like download the what's it called, a slightly older, or if you're watching this later, I guess a slightly newer version of like the Sculpt development branch. For now I'm just going to use an old Blender 3.0 build, which yeah, still has the Sculpt Vertex paints. Edgar, I was wanting to learn to make a crease like the mouth. Yeah, crease brush is gonna be your friend for that. Okay, finally, 15 minutes into the sculpt, I'm finally getting to the thing I wanted to do, which is painting the sculpt. This version doesn't have the vertex paints on by default, so I gotta turn them on in the preferences. That's under developer extras, experimental Vertex Colors here. And they don't have icons here yet, which kind of sucks, but here they hopefully at least work. Yeah. Yeah, I was getting a weird glitch in the other version, so this is just gonna have to do. I'm not actually sure what color she should be. In the old sculpt of her, which I've showed in the other streams, but I guess I'll show today again, since I think a couple of people are here that weren't in the old, other streams. Let's see. Let me try and find it. A lot of scrolling. Scrolling. All the way down through my gallery until I find the old sculpt of this character. It's a while back. And I think that was actually the last art I made for her for quite a while, because it turned out really nice and I didn't want to like ruin it by making another version of the character that maybe wouldn't be so nice. Which is a weird thought process, but it'd be how it do sometimes. Yeah. Here she is, like this is the old coloration she had. But really the only reason she had that color is because she started out as like, I made the character when I was a kid and it was just basically a random character I'd seen, I think from Sonic, and just like taken the design and used it for my own headcanon OCs. And like at this point, most of my characters have completely like evolved away from that, but she, I think, still looks like her design hasn't changed much, so I feel like I could mess around with her colors a bit, but I'm not really sure like in what direction. Bunnies come in quite a wide variety of colors, so there's not really one base idea sort of to work with. I could do quite a different variety of things. Whoop. There. As always, Blender feels the need to zoom in and out for some reason. I think it's something to do with my tablet and navigation that don't get along very well. But oh well, we'll make it work somehow. Edgar, the purple skulls in the background look really cool, thanks. That sort of just like reflects on the personality I wanted the character to have, and still kind of have. She isn't like the friendliest person, but well, actually she isn't the friendliest person. She's a relatively friendly person, I guess, but she's not. She's a bit like introverted and very no nonsense. Like if you're getting on her nerves, she doesn't have like a high tolerance for that kind of stuff. She's gonna get mad, I guess. Something like that. Either angry or very passive aggressive, depending on what the occasion calls for. I think I'm just gonna start with like the old coloration and then maybe like tweak it from there, make changes and see how it looks. I could also go with like a sort of let's say, wild type coloration, which is sort of grayish brown. Or actually, I'm just looking at pictures of rabbits and hares, and the colors like a hare has are actually quite nice. I have some open right here. Like a dark gray to brown to white kind of gradient. That could look nice. So I'm gonna try something like that. I'm gonna use the sort of brownish color as the base color. Also today's stream is probably going to be a bit shorter. I said that last week too, and it ended up being as long as usual. But in this case, like, my goal for today is just to finish up this character, which is really just the painting and rendering. So that shouldn't take too long, I hope. Yeah. Paint. Whatever. Just gonna manually fill it in. I can never find like where to fully fill in the colors, but it's also probably just in part because I'm using a very work in progressy branch of Blender, so like the UI isn't quite there yet for this feature. I'm actually gonna make a color palette for this one, so I can like save the colors I want. Next I'll do the white parts because those are easiest to like find where they should be. I don't go completely white because like usually furs and stuff are never like 100% white, but yeah, I'm gonna go with like a slightly creamy color. Also, it's like, can my audio not be heard anymore, or did the stream stop? Angry teapot, or were you just like thrown out or something? Oh no. I'm not sure. Now I'm slightly concerned. Hi, either way. Missing sweet roll. That sounds pretty cool, yeah. I've seen like clips of it being used and it looks really, really cool. I'm not sure, is it like Vertex paint, or I assume it's painting on UVs. That will probably be a bit like easier to implement into a 2D painting software. But yeah, I don't have any Apple product, so I can't use Procreate. I think Procreate is just on Apple, right? Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Okay, Zero the Panda, good. I was not sure what kind of a problem Angry Teapot is having, but Maybe it was just a hello, and I am reading too much into it. Oh yeah, it's so it's painting on painting on UVs. Yeah, it looks super useful, but like, yeah, as I said, don't have in like an iPad or anything like that. And I'm also not like super interested in starting to like switch over to the Apple ecosystem completely. Not quite my jam. So for now, I'm gonna stick to painting in Blender. The screen I'm painting on is not calibrated 100% correctly, so like some of the really light pinks look a bit really light, like beige colors look a bit gray. Also nice, missing Sweet Roll. That you got your Khajiit sculpted. I think you mentioned you were gonna do that on last stream. Or maybe that was someone else who also wanted to sculpt a Khajiit, but I'm gonna assume it was you. And Zero the Panda, you use Substance Painter and you hate the program. I tried Substance Painter once and I didn't like it. It didn't, like, because of the kind of textures I paint, it just didn't work well for it. It's not really, like, it's not, clearly not designed for hand-painted stylized textures was the impression I got. It's good if you're doing something more PBR and you're gonna be working with a whole bunch of different masks and like probably like Substance Designer materials and stuff like that, but for the stuff I needed, didn't really work. Also, thanks Missing Sweet Roll. Also, wait, I should turn on symmetry while I'm painting the face, because the face is my symmetry axis currently. The eyes aren't perfectly, like, the area around the eyes isn't perfectly symmetrical, but it's probably still easier to paint it with symmetry on and then tweak afterwards than to spend the whole time painting each side individually. Maybe not. God, I have the music from the new League of Legends cinematic stuck in my head. I don't even play League of Legends, but for some reason at some point I started like watching the cinematics and the music videos that they occasionally post, and now every time they post one I get it stuck in my head for several weeks, which is a bit annoying. Nope. Fox can't find any motivation to keep learning Blender. Yeah, that can be hard, I think. Don't really have any advice to give, sadly. Like, I guess looking at cool artwork, like cool 3D art, can be motivational, but it can also be a bit discouraging, so I don't know. Fortunately, I don't tend to have huge issues with motivation. Gin or Jin says Blender should have something like bpainter. Oh. As default tools. Yeah, that makes sense. I've taken a look at bpainter once or twice, but then never actually downloaded it for some reason. But it does look quite cool. I should probably like consider getting it. At some point. I think I'm liking where this is going with the colors. Like giving her the colors kind of like a wild hair. I swear this keeps happening. Like I pretty much don't have any problems with my relatively new tablet. And this is the only one. And I doubt it's even like a problem with the tablet itself. It seems to be more of an issue with how Blender handles the tablet, but it's very annoying. And so you're the panda. You've been working on a female canine for a while now. Yeah, feel free to put it in the critique chat. As long as it's not like not safe for work or anything. Yeah. Also, Jin asks, will I do procedural eyes? Probably not. And the reason is procedural eyes, like, they tend to be very detailed. They tend to look quite realistic. And that works on characters that are relatively realistic. But because of how I make my models, like, this is just gonna be like a hand-painted, like, pretty simple, all things considered, sculpt, very stylized. I think it would look a bit uncanny if I did try to make like very detailed procedural eyes. Plus I just don't have any like procedural texture for eyes on hand. So yeah, gonna just like vertex paint them really quick. Fox can, you want to make music, but modeling is cool. I mean, it's probably like, with art stuff, I think it's not really worth trying to pursue after a type of art that's just like not really your kind of passion. Like if you're really into music and that's your main interest, I'd imagine trying to like get into making some form of visual art, even if you find it cool but it's just not your thing. I'd imagine that could be a bit like difficult. Blue Zombies. Well, I didn't really explain what procedural eyes are, I just said they tend to look quite detailed and realistic. Procedural eyes are just eyes where the texture is made using like node shaders instead of nodes and unshaders, rather than being like drawn by hand. Also, Ginjin, I'm still not sure. You made procedural eyes that look like painted. That sounds pretty cool. I'm still probably gonna paint these ones myself, but yeah, that sounds pretty dope. Honestly, with this, like, it's fun to redesign a character like this on sort of on the fly, but at the same time, it's hard to sort of make iterations and try out different colors and designs and stuff like that, different colors and patterns. I'm just pretty much going with the very first idea, which doesn't tend to look, usually, just like in my experience, going with the very first idea, even if it seems pretty cool on its own, trying a couple more different ones, you almost always come across something that ends up looking better. But hey, I'll maybe like mess around with, like, make some sketches in different colors off camera. Maybe repaint her, maybe not, who knows. Zero the Pandas, does bikini count as not safe for work? It probably depends on the kind of bikini. I'd like put it in chat and just add a spoiler, and then I can check and see if that's safe for work enough, yeah. Also, I was gonna answer Foxcan what's NSFW, but Blue Zombie's already answered not safe for work. It's just like stuff that maybe is a bit, well, the name is pretty self-explanatory, not quite safe for work. So some kind of content that isn't like family friendly, let's say, or in this case work friendly. So it's usually content that's, yeah, like Blue Zombie says, lewd in some way, or sometimes it's even just like violent or gory. I would count that as not safe for work. Yeah, like Storm Engineer said, generally anything you wouldn't want your coworkers to catch you looking at. Oh, you sent a pic of the procedural eyes in the critiques tab. Oh yeah, those do look like really nice and almost hand painted. Like if I didn't know they were procedural, I might actually think, yeah, they were hand painted. Those look really nice. Let's see here. Gonna paint the inside of the ears real quick. Gotta make sure it's not bleeding through to the back. No, it's not. Hi Yazan. Welcome to the live stream. In today's live stream, I will be painting this model, and that is it. Yes, and why is everyone talking about NSFW in chat? What's his face? Zero the Panda was asking whether he was allowed to post something in chat on on Discord. Let's do front faces only for now, because for this part I actually want it to be front faces only. Sometimes especially while painting, I want it to actually bleed through so I don't get like sharp edges in places, but in this case I want it to not bleed through to the back. Foxcan, yeah, there's a Discord server. If you look in the description, there's a link tree and it's one of the links in there. I should probably put like the link directly in the description, but I'll probably forget about it again now that I've mentioned it. See, getting the inside of the ear here is a bit difficult. Could probably like hide a bit of the shoulder, but I feel like that would be too much effort. Actually, no, it's probably worth it. Let's see, where's the hide? Oh, it's only box hide. There's no option to lasso hide. That's a bit annoying, but I'll manage somehow. Just gotta slowly cut away at the model. I'm not actually cutting anything away, I'm just hiding parts of the mesh so I can more easily see the ear. At this point it should technically be fine despite like the little bits here, because I told Blender not to draw on back faces. Yeah. So like this it's fine. I have no clue how to read that name, but face sets, yeah, face sets would probably be useful. I rarely use face sets in Blender. I don't know, but I use them if I'm like working on a sculpt long term and it's gonna be like a really detailed sculpt. But usually for like a small one-off sculpt like this, I don't bother making them. And XBGT, how do I keep my sculpt so clean? Yours are usually messy. Honestly, like the whole time while sculpting, I feel like my sculpt is really messy. And then I look at it at the end and it's not messy at all. So I don't even know myself, honestly. I use the crease brush a lot to get these like sharp creases. I use the smooth brush a lot to smooth out. And I use remesh, so my topology, like my resolution is the same all around the mesh, and that is it. That is as much advice as I could give. Other than that, it's just like luck, I guess, question mark? I don't know. Also, Blue Zombies asked, how high is the remesh? Good question. It's at 0.006. Though, honestly, like, don't worry about the number. Just, like, pay attention to whether it can handle the amount of detail you're trying to get out of it. You know what? I'm gonna actually make a face set because, wait, what was the mask expand again? Expand by topology, shift+A. Shift+A. I can make a face set from masked in Blender, right? That's not just a ZBrush thing. Oh, it's lagging. Will it mask or will it crash? Stay tuned and find out. Oh. Well, it didn't crash. Probably my cue to save it. It was Shift+S, I said. No. Shift+A. Yes, no, maybe. Blue Zombies, the parts are joined at this point. The only thing that's not joined is the little bits of fur on the ears and at the top of the head. That's gonna stay separate, but everything else is joined together and remeshed. So all the transitions are smooth, or unless you're like referring to something different, I guess. Okay. Here. Yeah. And I'm gonna have to like turn off face sets in the overlays, otherwise I can't see what I'm coloring. Gonna turn off the mask too, otherwise I can't paint. Good morning, Rogue Jekyll. Well, here it's actually almost 10 minutes to 8 in the evening, but I guess for you it's morning, so good morning. And thanks. Yeah, it's always really nice to like color a sculpt because it suddenly just like starts popping to life. Speaking of popping to life, the eyes kind of important. Do they still have a mirror modifier, or did I apply it? Good, they still have a mirror modifier. Hi Flower, welcome to the stream. Welcome to this Blender moment, as you call it. Can't see anything. Okay, now I can see something. However, what I cannot see, that's actually, oh damn, it's that little. Okay. I'm gonna go to sculpt mode, face set from edit mode selection. I might have to like turn off my subdivision surface modifier for a second. Hello Flick, welcome to the stream. Haha. Couldn't really see anything I just did, but I did something and it worked. That's all you need to know. Or something like that. Like, I have this tendency when I'm working in Blender, especially when I'm just like working on something for myself, I have a tendency to just like use tools while they're hidden. So for example, I'll also put like the 3D cursor somewhere and use it to add in an object. So it looks like I'm just randomly adding an object to a different place, but like I know that I just shift right click to like to move the 3D cursor, but obviously in the footage you can't see that I moved the 3D cursor. Or same thing with like rotation around a certain point. Very bad for videos, but fun for myself, I guess, something like that. Also, I think I'm gonna need to apply the subdivision surface modifier, at least on one level. In order to make the eyes the level of detail I need them to have. Whoop. And I should turn on wireframe so I can actually see what I'm painting. And I'm gonna turn those all the way up, otherwise I still can't see what I'm painting. Now the rest of the model looks like a mess, but it's gonna be fine. I know what I'm doing, I think. Question mark, maybe. Also, I have a tendency, like, when I'm asking a rhetorical question, to just say question mark out loud. I don't know how I got into that habit, but now I can't unhabit the habit, so guess this is gonna be how it be. Just saying random weird words in the middle of my sentences. Oh. Yeah, that's the correct size. The nice thing about the Sculpt Vertex tools currently is that there's a color filter. So even if I don't like the current eye color, this random brown I picked, I can still like adjust the hue and saturation to change the color. Oh good, Blue Zombies did the same thing. Now I feel less lonely and weird. Oh, I should turn the strength all the way up. I was wondering why stuff isn't getting fully colored when I turn off my when I turn off the, what's it called? Brush pressure. Wireframe. There. Still needs a gradient from the top to the bottom to look not completely weird. So I'm gonna add that in a second. But first I'm gonna quickly clean up around the edges here. Yeah, just send it to Flower and he'll tell you if it's fine. That sounds like a good idea. Oh. Gotta turn back on my pressure sensitivity. And I gotta like... No. I keep using C when I want to color pick, but in reality the color picker is on S in Blender. So much stuff that I keep forgetting. So gotta turn the saturation up a bit for this to look good. Yeah, that looks better. Today's another one of those days where I'm not feeling great. I mentioned last week that I wasn't feeling great. Last week I wasn't sure why I wasn't feeling great. This week I know why I'm not feeling great, and that's because there's construction going on downstairs. And I was woken up today like half an hour before my usual wake up time by the sound of construction equipment loudly working. That's not a very nice thing to wake up to. I wasn't able to like go back to sleep and get properly rested, so I've been a bit meh the whole day, which is not nice. Don't like feeling meh. So much easier to see what I'm doing here when I have the wireframe on. However, when I have the wireframe on, it looks kind of ugly. So that makes it harder to see what I'm doing. So I'm just gonna have to like very carefully work without the wireframe on and hope it still turns out alright. Actually, I'm gonna turn it back on quickly to clean up the edge. I'm not used to talking much, so my throat is a bit sore. Pardon me. Bye, Foxcan. Sleep. Hope you sleep better than I did. Yeah, have a good night. I might actually... It's not something I usually do, like highlight the bottom edge of the pupil, but it can look really nice, so I'm gonna try it this time. tend to spend a lot of time on the eyes, even though they're fairly small space and relatively simple. But they're kind of the focus of the face, so like that's where people automatically look. So it's worth spending a bit of extra time on them. I always pause in the middle of a sentence because like some random other thought pops up and then I get distracted from what I was saying and I have to like think for a second about what it is I was talking about. So I keep getting like random bots posting like broken links with spacebars in between them and I have no clue what it's like, what they are, why they exist, what they're supposed to be achieving, and all that stuff. And I'm gonna mask by color, see if that works. F3 mask. Yeah, it takes on depth, adding the little extra light to the eye. I quite like it. Like, obviously the eyes don't have actual depth. I could model that in, though, if I wanted to. But for models like this, where they aren't... like, where she doesn't have the proper shading, I don't think she technically needs the eyes to be inset. I could still inset them, though. Yes, and every time you watch my streams, you get busy with something in real life. It happens sometimes. That's okay, though. Nobody's obligated to be here. Here, mask by color. Did anything actually happen? Maybe? Yeah, it did. It did the thing I wanted it to do. Great. Let me just mask a bit more. Mask. Grow mask by a little bit, yeah. I think, yeah, I can actually change the blend mode here, so I'm gonna use multiply. Where is multiply? Is there a multiply? Here, yeah, there's a multiply. Let's see, with... yeah, this seems like the correct kind of color. Hi, Murdoch. Welcome to another stream. Oh, no, this is too red. Gonna make it a bit more desaturated. Maybe a bit more yellow. Yeah, that's more like it. Also, I might have to shrink the mask, actually. Yeah. Yeah. Luckily, it kept the tool the way I had set it, though. I could have honestly just used this for the outside edge. but oh well. We're figuring stuff out as we go. Would also be useful to actually be able to see the face while I'm doing this, like adding the bit of shadow on top. Yeah, that looks pretty good. Next thing would be the eyelashes, just to give them a bit of color, since they currently don't have any. Just like a dark brown. I'm not gonna go completely black. I don't like going completely black or completely gray on my sculpts, just because that tends to look almost a bit unnatural. Same thing with completely white. Also, I'm on multiply, no wonder it keeps getting darker still. Here. How did I mask the eye that easily? I searched color and then masked by color, because I just masked what was essentially the whites of the eyes at that time. Also, something I realized earlier that I hadn't really been paying attention to before, but you can, if you turn on specular highlights here again, I mean, this material doesn't have any, but if I use one that does, say this one, in the materials and viewport display, wait, is it in at least it is when you have material view in viewport display. You can turn up and down the roughness and like make it really shiny. I guess it doesn't work though if you're using using Vertex Colors, which kind of makes sense, I guess, since those aren't controlled under the materials tab. Also, speaking of stuff not being completely white, I should probably make the whites of the eyes a bit darker, so we shall do it again with the lookup color, or color, and then mask by color. Yeah, here's the mask. Invert that, and then this is a color filter. I'm gonna go with value and turn that down just a little bit. Should probably turn off overlays just so I can see it better. Not too much darker, something like that. Yeah. I'm not quite sure what you mean. That sentence I think is cut off a bit. I've already had the opportunity to work on the Blender 3.0.1 temp sculpt colors. You downloaded it? I haven't messed with that yet. The only thing I did earlier was mess with one of the alpha builds of 3.1, but that didn't work well, so the one I'm currently working with is an old alpha for 3.0. But if they work in the 3.0.1, that would be good. I'd say I'd try it towards the end of the stream, but I probably won't. I don't feel like trying anything today. Like trying anything extra. Just gonna stream for like half an hour or an hour more until I finish this painting, and then that's gonna be enough for me for today in terms of stuff in general. Color isn't done yet though on the main body even. I only added the first sort of layer of colors, but I didn't yet go into details, so let's start on that. Nope. Used C again to try and pick colors, but when I should have used S. Gonna take like a dark gray here. Jin says your computer doesn't have a CUDA or RDNA architecture, so you can't use Blender 3.0. Yeah, that kind of sucks. That was like the kind of like I have a pretty new computer that definitely supports CUDA, so that wasn't an issue, but I assumed that would be an issue when I like read through the update stuff. And yeah, it kind of sucks. Also, I'm gonna turn off front faces only because for this part, I don't want it to be front faces only, actually. I want it to bleed through to the back. Also, I don't feel like doing anything today. I mean, it's a bit of an exaggeration, but I'm very tired. My headache is finally going away a bit, but I'm not feeling extremely motivated to live stream like the last couple of times, so just gonna finish with this sculpt and then like play some more Hades or something. Maybe I'll live stream my Hades playing on the Discord server. But I'll probably not talk. So, you guys done anything interesting like today or this week or anything like that? I don't know, I'm running out of things to talk about. And I always feel like, obviously I don't have to talk during a live stream. You can just like watch me sculpt, but I always feel like since I'm live, I should talk. That's like part of the appeal of a stream, as opposed to just a video. Hope. And I'm glad I made that face set. Flour ate cereal today. Lovely. I haven't had cereal in a very long time. Like, I occasionally have oats in the morning. But like, there's never been a point in my life where we regularly had cereal in the house. So my brother and I didn't grow up eating cereal, except for like cornflakes. But even then it was like we would mix the cornflakes in with oats. So it would be more like a muesli than a cereal. Which arguably muesli is a kind of cereal, so... But yeah. Blue Zombies went through your old art and cried that your current art isn't good. Oh no. That's not good. fact that this keeps zooming in is gonna annoy me so much. Anywho, the next step I think is gonna be to add like the grayish parts. Again, that I'm basing this off of pictures of hairs for those of you who joined in relatively recently. So it's like white on the belly and stuff, and then a bit of this sort of, let's say, honey creamy color around the edges. Oh. Yeah, this one you can see it here especially, and then like on the back this sort of grayish, slightly darker brown. And she's supposed to be a bunny, not a rabbit, not a hare, but that doesn't matter. Bunnies come in all kinds of colors, so it's not like unrealistic for a bunny to have that kind of color. And there are definitely bunnies that have similar colors to that. Damn, Road Jackal making models with just math. Really bad at that kind of stuff. Like, I like being, when I'm working on making something, even if it's hard surfacey, to like work very organically, pulling and pushing around the vertices, and that doesn't work out very well. A lot of the time, it's probably part of the reason why I don't enjoy hard surfacey stuff as much. Though I guess like that's not like the standard workflow for hard surface. But like even all just like the creasing and beveling and stuff like that you need for regular hard surface, I find kind of annoying. Also haven't messed around with geometry nodes at all. Like everybody seems so hype about them, at least like on YouTube and stuff. But they're not at all like my kind of thought process. So I haven't barely even looked at them. Or like, I say I've barely even, I have just not even looked at them. Like the geometry nodes. And Ian Varnley says, adorable ear positions, thanks. She used to have just floppy ears, but I kind of wanted to give her one ear that could stand up and the other that was completely floppy. Thought that would be kind of cute. Not quite liking this desaturated color on her, so I might just pump up the saturation on it a bit more. Makes it less like, not as accurate to the references I have open, but references are always just rough guides. Don't gotta stick to them exactly unless you're like going for realism. The hype is because it's how Maya works. I have no clue. I've never messed with Maya. You know what? There's no reason for this to be like a sharp line. Also, I should turn back front faces only on, just to make sure I don't accidentally mess up the insides of the ear. Am I drawn to grease pencil animation and animation? Honestly, I occasionally animate a little bit, like if you guys saw the clip I have as my intro for the streams, I animated that. but it's not like my main thing. Like I can spend an hour or two, or make like, well, more than an hour or two. I can spend like a day or two working on an animation, but it's not like my favorite thing in the world to do, so yeah. And grease pencil looks cool, but I've never really gotten around to messing with it a huge amount either. Yeah, messed around with it a little bit here and there, but never done any of the like super fun stuff with it. Mostly because, again, I'm not super interested in animation, and I'm not like the sort of half 3D drawings you can make with it are just not my kind of thought process, so I haven't gotten into them very well. I could add like something like freckles to her cheeks here, but I feel like that would slightly mess with the shape design I have going with her very sharp cheeks, so I'm gonna leave it. But I could give her this sort of pointy bit on her nose to just add a couple more pointy shapes here and there. Make her a bit more sharp and rough around the edges looking. Well, not rough around the edges, I think is the wrong word. But if she's too like round and soft everywhere, I think she's gonna give up too much of a friendly vibe for the personality I think she should have. Well, not I think she should, as she has in my head. She's my character, and the one who gets to decide what her personality is. Doesn't matter what I think she should have. Every time you extrude or something, that gets a new node. Sounds like pain. Don't want to do something like that. No, thank you. Like for a while, I occasionally messed with like procedural modeling with modifiers. That was fun for a bit. I made a weird flower looking thing. And that is it. But it's just not my kind of cup of tea of workflows. Hey, Aussie Mars. This like painting with vertex paints, it always feels like it should be really fast. Like it should go really quickly, but it never does. Always takes me at least like an hour or two to finish fully painting a model, and I'm not sure why. Bye, Rogue Jacko. And don't worry, you probably won't miss much. It's gonna bother me that the inside of her ear isn't, the inside of her eye socket isn't white, even though you can't see it when the model is actually like complete. So I'm just gonna like quickly tweak that. There. It's not exactly the same white for some reason, but it doesn't matter. I think the darker shade here on her nose is a bit too dark, so I'm gonna tweak that. Or not necessarily too dark, it's too harsh of a contrast to the lighter shade. So I'm actually gonna make it just a gradient instead of the sharp transition I originally had. Yeah, looks a bit better. And she's almost done. I think the only thing left for me to do at this point is paint in the hair or the tufts of fur, and add in like a bit of like ambient occlusion. Though honestly, I can do that in the shaders, adding the ambient occlusion. Mess around with some color variation here with the color filter. Like say hue could be fun to mess with. Where is it? Hue. Green, blue, magic rainbow rabbit. Whee! You gotta just find like her actual color again somewhere here. Well, I don't have to, I can just undo. And yeah, the original color I had made for her was pretty correct. No point in changing that. Let's see. Saturation. Orange. That's not terrible. I think this is nice. Like a bit more gray. Yeah. Hi, Jin Lonix. And thanks. And yeah, learning Blender is fun. I'd say it's definitely worth it, but it's a lot of hard work. So it's worth it if you're really into 3D art and want to make it. But it can be a bit frustrating if you're like not getting anywhere while trying to learn. Ah, zooming, very annoying. It's more fun when I teach you. I wouldn't rely on me to teach anyone at Blender, but that's maybe just because I'm slightly anxious about people and saying stuff. So maybe I'm actually a perfectly good teacher and I just doubt myself too much. Who knows? But I still have this song stuck in my head. The animation for that video is also really cool. For those of you who are vaguely interested in League of Legends characters, or even if you're not, honestly, because I'm not interested in League either, but I still see the animations when they come out. And they're definitely worth looking at. They look really cool. It's weird, the zoom, because like I don't have the issue when I'm using my mouse and using the scroll wheel to zoom, or even if I'm using my mouse and using the middle mouse click to zoom. But it's like I think occasionally my pen just Blender just registers some like really sudden movements with my pen. And just like yeets the zoom somewhere. One of these days Rose is gonna get addicted to League of Legends. Seems unlikely because I have no desire whatsoever to actually play the game. It doesn't look even in the slightest like something I would enjoy. I just am weirdly invested in the lore, but I haven't even watched like Arcane or anything. It's weird. I think it's a long story. It actually has to do with Blender. Like some years ago, what's his face? Jan Sculpt did a fan art of Akali, like one of the characters in but like a version that was in the music video they released for skin line. And anyway, like I watched that Sculpt, and then I was like curious how the original character looked, so I watched the video, and then I still watched all the other music videos, and then I got slightly interested in the lore, even though like the versions of the characters in the music videos don't tend to have anything to do with the main lore. So now I'm vaguely interested in the League of Legends lore, and that's the end of my story. But yeah, as I said, I don't really have any interest in actually playing the game. Jin asks, does this model have UVs? Nope, I'm using Vertex Colors to paint it. Specifically Vertex Colors in Sculpt mode, because the regular Vertex Colors are too slow to actually use for anything. Well, they're good for like adding Vertex Colors to a relatively low poly model. They're not good for adding Vertex Colors to a Sculpt, because that's just too much. Zero the Panda, dope. I'll take a look at that after stream. League of Legends is for kids. We play StarCraft. I have no clue. I don't play any of these games. I only watch the cinematics, and the cinematics are pretty, like, really good, actually. Don't know if StarCraft has good cinematics. The only thing I really know about League, based on the content I watch, is that there's just like a lot of like selling skins and stuff like that. So I'd imagine it would be a bit annoying to play and constantly be surrounded by this, by that, or look like a noob. Plus, everyone I know who seems to play it is apparently very addicted to it and also hates it, so I'd prefer playing the games that I am addicted to and actually like. Jin asks, will I render that live? Sure, why not? I'm pretty much done with painting it at this point, so rendering is the next step anyway. Might as well do it live. Oh wait, I gotta do the eyebrow dots. I always like giving my characters eyebrow dots instead of full eyebrows. I don't know, I think they're like cuter. Gotta like select the proper color. Murdoch's addicted to Blender. I'm addicted to Hades. Well, I'm not actually that addicted anymore. I was for a long while. I have like 100 hours or something like that in Hades at this point. I can actually look on Steam. I have 140 I have 140 hours in Hades on Steam, and I'd like to say that a lot of that is just because it's been open occasionally and I wasn't actually playing, but that's maybe 10 hours of that. That's not that much. And I have almost all the achievements, so now my goal is to get all the achievements. And after that, I've pretty much done everything you can do in the game. It doesn't matter, because for some reason characters still have random conversations that I've never heard before, which is pretty fucking... No, I shouldn't swear. I'm gonna get, like, demonetized. Well, too late. Anyway. Which is pretty freaking cool for having played 100 hours, that, like, characters still have new stuff to say. Though I am, at this point, completely done with, like, the main story and all the side plots. Jin, you wanna learn Blender because it's like what Maya and ZBrush has but one software? I suppose. Yeah, I haven't ever used Maya at this point, but it definitely has I'd say most of the important tools from ZBrush. There, some of the workflows are quite different. Like, for example, Blender doesn't have any, like, insert mesh brushes because you can just add an object. Especially now that you have, like, your libraries somewhere that I also haven't used ever. Should, like, at least look at them once. Although, I'm not even using, like, the most recent version of 3.0, so I'm gonna do that at some other point in time. But yeah, Murdoch, will I stream on Twitch? No. I'm gonna do all my streaming on YouTube here, like any streaming that I do, and that's also only gonna be art stuff. Just because the people who watch me are here anyway. Not really any point in going to a completely new platform just to do the same kind of content I'm doing anyway. Like, obviously, I guess, Twitch is probably a bit better for streaming in general, but since it's not something I do super often, there's not really a point in trying to build up a Steam. Yeah, not Steam, Twitch. So yeah. The fact that Blender updates and lets you download branches, you can download, like, if you just look at the tab for Blender downloads, there's obviously the main download you get when you go to the download tab, just like the main install, but then there's experimental, various experimental versions, all archive builds going like way back, like every single experimental build. There's like branches with different builds for like different things that are in development. It's pretty dope. Murdoch, do you mean like me playing games, or you want to just see me on Twitch, which I wouldn't do anything on Twitch that I am not doing here anyway. If you just want to watch me play games, I sometimes maybe stream them on the Discord server. But like I've streamed like maybe 3 or 4 hours of Hades on the Discord server, and I've played like 100 hours, so I wouldn't count on seeing me play games. That's something I more do like on my own, as to chill. People stress me out. Anywho, I think she's done. I'm not quite happy with how, still not quite happy with how much the eyebrow dots stick out. Gonna actually turn off fade in active geometry so I can see how everything looks together. Murdoch, you gotta be more specific. Unless you mean like see my face, in which case no. Also, that doesn't have anything to do with Twitch. Like, I could add a face cam on YouTube if I really wanted to, which I don't. So yeah. FLAR, yeah. The other softwares update on a schedule. Yeah, Blender just kind of like updates when the updates are done. Not on any set schedule. Also, this isn't working great. No, I don't like it. Could work, but it's not the correct vibe. Yeah, Blender has the long-term support version. I haven't really ever used it. Well, I mean, I used it when it was the newest version, but that just like it exists so that if you're working on a longer term project, you don't have to update to a completely new version in order to get the new updates, which don't really care since I don't work on that many long-term projects, and sometimes even when I do, like, I've made bigger projects in Blender and just used some experimental build anyway and just like hoped for the best. And so far nothing has completely broken for me, which is good. To meet me in person. Meeting people in person sounds very, very stressful, actually. I don't like that idea. I don't like meeting people. Well, I don't like meeting people who know me, but I don't know them. That's sort of not something I'm quite prepared yet for. Probably, like, of all the things with YouTube, the fact that at some point I might actually run into people who kind of know me, but I don't know them at all, that's very weird to me. Okay, this looks nicer. Blender updates are usually useful. Maya's running out of ideas. Yeah, as I said, don't really know Maya much, so can't relate obviously, but yeah, Blender tends to, like, all the version changes bring in some kind of new tool, something. Varying degrees of actually useful, but like also that depends on what kind of stuff you're doing in Blender. So I said I wanted to get to rendering this, but now I'm just stuck. Yeah. Painting instead. Like constantly making tiny tweaks to the painting. Ah. There. Okay. Now I'm gonna stop. I should also probably like apply the mirror modifier for the eyes and pose them individually. But first to turn off merging so that I can actually separate them. I wish there was like a quicker way to like apply a mirror modifier into separate objects and like make the origins of the objects set origin to geometry. Yes, this is not correct. I wish there was a quicker way to just like do all of that in one step, like apply the mirror modifier, separate out both halves, and make them into separate objects with the origins at the right place. But well, flower, that's a mood. I hate it when you get to the point where a model could use something more, but you just can't get the thing to work. Kevin says, asks what kind of courses I took to get good at character modeling. I didn't take any courses. Like, I just figured it out based on a combination of just learning Blender, just figuring stuff out as I go. Just like info, I guess, for like info and tutorials and stuff that are technically meant for painting, just all kinds of stuff. Jin asks why I don't repost my work on SocMed. I don't know. I don't even know what that is. Also, it's rendering time. Great thing about me is I have already set up my rendering, like my basic rendering setup is already there in my default startup file. So I just gotta adjust it and tweak it for the model. I should share my settings though, that would actually make it useful. So here, I'm using Eevee. If you're on the channel and like we're reading chat earlier, I have mentioned that I pretty much only use Eevee to render, because I mean, why use cycles when Eevee works fine? I use cycles pretty much only for things that actually require cycles for whatever reason. And as if there's a possibility to use Eevee, I'm just going to use Eevee. Got Ambient Occlusion turned on, Bloom turned on. Could turn down Bloom a bit, but I'm not going to do that just yet. Depth of field is not turned on. Well, yeah, no, depth of field is not turned on, I think. Although no, that's not something you turn on, that's something you set in the camera, I think. Yeah, it's not turned on in the camera. It always takes a while. Also, okay, Jin, I just don't like, it's fine if you like retweet or share a link or something like that on social media. I just don't want people to just take the art itself and just post it places, you know? Yeah, like actually reposting. Sharing is perfectly fine. I don't mind people sharing. But like the same thing sort of applies for in the Discord channel, in the Discord server. The rule is for inspiration that if possible post a link instead of the actual like instead of just the picture, because it's nicer if people can like actually go directly to the artist's page and look at it there rather than it just showing up somewhere else. Also, I'm just looking at the inspo channel and I noticed that someone actually posted that League cinematic a couple of days ago and I never saw it, like a week ago at this point. Darkstalker posted it. And then I completely missed it and watched it on my own. I was distracted by the tiger that Dingbot posted after it. Also by Flower. And yes, I know where to find you. Anyway, background. Okay, that's good. Glad we're on the same page then, Jin. Anyway, for my background, I use a gradient texture. I just use like a vector map to push it around so that it's in the right position. And then I use a color ramp node. I usually set it to like B-spline. In order to get like a nice sort of gradient circle thingy for the background. Because I think it looks neat. And then for the light, my backlight, when I saved it, I made it way too bright. Should turn it down to like think 20 maybe. Yeah, maybe even a bit less, like 10. It's just a regular sun lamp, but it turns so that it's at the very back of the model. And for the plane that I use as the background, what's important in the settings, I have backface culling on, and the shadow mode is none. If I put anything in the shadow mode, then it would block the backlight from the character, but as soon as I put the shadow mode to none, it doesn't block the light, so you still get the cool backlight on the character. Then for just to fill in the color, I just have a random HDRI of HDRI Haven, and I tinted it. You could probably also just use a blank world and tint that, but I find that having a HDRI just gives it a little bit more life than just having a flat color. Then what's my other light? My other light is a key light that's just a regular point light. Might actually turn up the radius just to make the shadows a bit softer. Yeah, that looks nicer. Just move it a bit and increase the strength. Yeah, good. Now for materials. I'm gonna save first, because sometimes the vertex colors mess up a bit. I'm gonna go Shift A, add vertex colors. I'm not gonna do it at the top here. I'm gonna do vertex colors here. And then go color. If you do the very top one, it tries to take from this vertex color stack, but that's empty because it's actually these vertex colors. It's a bit weird. Oh wait, no, it's not that. It's these vertex colors here that it's using instead of the regular vertex colors. It's called vertex colors. Jin, yeah, that happens to a lot of artists all the time, and it's very annoying that someone just takes the art, and like the worst thing is if the person taking the art is like selling it or putting it on prints or like making money from it, but it's still very annoying if it's like being just shared somewhere, especially if it's like somewhere that would get a lot of exposure. Whoop. But the person just doesn't say who it's from. And it's very annoying for the artist, because it's like a lot of hard work, and then people would just post it in places and no one actually knows that it's your thing. I'm just gonna take this whole setup, copy it, paste it, and same thing here. Can you just not have a material? No. Honestly, I can just give these guys the same material as the rest of the body. The only reason they had a different material to begin with was before I added colors. So I could differentiate them in the viewport. Link materials there. Blue Ninja, you just add a big watermark on the center. Yeah, I keep forgetting to, like, well, I have a watermark, but I keep forgetting to add it on top, and I always hate how it looks. Because it especially for my style of art, since it's like paintings, it always feels like it really messes with it, and it's very annoying. I usually just have like a signature in the corner Also Jin, this is Eevee, because it's like at this point it's even like live in the viewport. So for the eyes, I'm just gonna turn the roughness down so that they're nice and shiny. If I go zoom in very close, because it's a UV sphere, it looks a bit wobbly, but since it's, for most renders, it's going to be zoomed out, it doesn't really matter. Then for the main body, I'm going to turn the roughness up, not completely up, just so it doesn't have like really obvious highlights. And I'm gonna add a bit of subsurface scattering. Not much. Again, I'm also going to use the same color for the subsurface scattering. Oh no, here. Just a bit to make it a bit softer. And the subsurface radius, I just might turn the red down a tiny bit, just so that it isn't as like obviously red. Turn it to 5. No, I wanted to point to it to 0.5 and I accidentally did 0.5 here. Yeah, there. And turn the subsurface off a little bit more. Yeah, it's not like physically necessarily realistic, but that doesn't matter because it's not a realistic character anyway. It's supposed to look good, not necessarily look real. Her mouth looks a bit awkward now that it's lit because her upper like lip or jaw, I guess, sticks out way further than the lower. So I might just go into sculpt mode for a hot second and adjust that. Whoop. Gonna mask the top lip. And just pull out the bottom a bit. And I hope that doesn't just mess up the entirety of the sculpt, which is always a possibility. But I think it should be fine. And yeah, it looks ugly. I've seen some people who actually use watermarks where it doesn't look that bad, but most of the time it looks ugly. Also gotta hide some parts of the mesh because it's a bit too much geometry in order to easily deform. So I'm gonna use the regular move brush instead of the elastic hook. I'm gonna unmask, gonna unmask a bit here just to smooth it out a little bit. Let's just smooth this a little bit. Little bit of smoothing, a little bit of creasing, a little bit of everything. Just to make it. Okay, unhide everything, and then shading. Yeah, now it looks a bit nicer. The mouth isn't really overshadowed. Relatively quick fix. Okay, for the world, it's currently very purple. I'm gonna turn the saturation down a bit here. Maybe shift the hue maybe to something a bit more yellowy. Yeah, something like this. It's not more yellowy, but it's slightly less purple. And the main light isn't bright enough, I think. Doesn't really feel very lit up. So I'm going to turn that up a bit, and I think I'm also going to make it a bit more yellowy. Not too yellow, just a little bit. Just a bit warm. There, and for the background color, since her name is Lilac, should also be lilac. Also, well, I always stick to this, almost always stick to this colored background. I might actually just make the whole thing purple. Yeah, this actually looks fun. Just all purple with a bit of brighter pinkish purple in the middle. There. That looks pretty nice, I think. If I don't say so myself. I think it could be a bit darker on the outside still. Just gonna... yeah. First we start, then we finish in reverse. I'm not quite sure what you mean, but sure, I guess. Gonna turn off the roughness a little bit more here because it's just a bit too shiny. Also, the eyelashes currently have the material of the eyes. I actually want them to have the material, it's called white, it's just main actually. Then backlight, let's see. Could also make that bright purple. Why not? Just make everything the one color. Yeah. Could add like a secondary one here. And make that maybe yellow. Orange. Orange is nice. I'm trying to like diversify my lighting setups a little bit, because for a while I just always went with the same black background, colored rim light, main light, and then whatever setup, and I want to get a bit more like fun and interesting with different light sources, like different lights, but at the same time I kind of don't. Because I quite like my basic lighting setup. It's always difficult making decisions. Oh. Gotta scale this here, area light. I changed the key light I just made, the point light I just made, into an area light, because for this I think it's gonna be a bit more easy to manage. Let's see, what kind of color do I make this? Purple? Why not make everything purple? Sure. Oh, it looks like she's lit by one of these like error thingies. Blue and green always look a bit off and unnatural. First we start, then we finish in reverse. It's a bit harder, yeah. But it's not always a straight line in between the two. Between start and finish. Do I want to make the world a bit darker so she has slightly darker shadows? Sure, why not? Let's mess around and try stuff out. That's a bit too dark. Still a bit too dark. That's where it was just now. How about 1.5? 0.15, sorry. That looks alright. I think she could use a little bit more subsurface scattering. Maybe. Switch back to world subsurface. No, that's a bit too much. What she could use though, is ambient occlusion. Let's see. Let's go to input, ambient occlusion. Let's take a look, see here how this looks. Not much. I'm gonna grab a converter color ramp. Ramp that up a bit. For some reason, this version of Blender has an issue where only local does inside instead of actually only local, but whatever, doesn't really matter. I'm gonna turn this up, gonna make this into like a reddish color that usually works. Gonna add a mix node, color mix RGB here. Gonna put this here, and then my main color in here, and put that in the base color. Now, right now, that looks kind of bad. I'm gonna turn up the factor all the way to 1 and change it to multiply. There. That's the color I want, and plop it in there. And that looks good. Still looks a bit bright though. I think I'm gonna just add a second light source. Gonna turn that down a bit. There. Yeah, I'm liking how this is looking. I could change the camera angle a bit. Gonna parent the background to the camera just for the sake of simplicity, so I can easily move it around. Then I'm gonna use the 3D cursor to rotate around. This is actually a nicer angle almost, I think, for her. And I gotta adjust my backlighting so that it's still from the back. And I gotta turn off rotate around 3D cursor for that. Change to median point. So yeah, here it is pretty much. This is pretty much how the finished thing is gonna look. I'm gonna open a new tab to render. Could do some compositing too, maybe. in that case, and new window, and then change this to image editor, and press F12 to render. It's rendering down here, and render result. Oh, and this is why when I have a scrap layer, I gotta remember to actually turn it off in the render, otherwise I'm gonna get this kind of nonsense that has all my scrapped items and looks completely cursed. Let's try that again, F12, this time with, yeah, that looks a bit better. The cube I wanted to use to boolean off her arms is still there. I'm gonna just hide that real quick. And there it is. I will probably crop this. Well, not crop it. Change like the size of the camera to something that fits the aspect ratio of the render itself a bit better. Yeah, just square for now. Gonna zoom in. Yeah. So I'm gonna tweak this camera angle just a little bit more. Yeah. I do love that Eevee renders so quickly. Like, even this is like a massively high poly model, and it rendered, obviously my PC is pretty good, but it rendered in like a second. And yeah, I think it automatically uses my graphics card to render actually this version of Blender. Now let's see. I'm not really good at compositing, but I'm gonna try anyway. You can at least adjust the contrast. That's usually like the most important thing. So, let's grab layout, reroute, put that there, output, viewer, put that there, so I can actually see what I'm doing. And then here I'm gonna make this the view layer, not the composite, so I can actually, well, no wait, yeah, so I can actually compare the two. Several people are asked what's my PC specs. Let's see. The important thing, I guess, for rendering is that it has a RTX 2070 graphics card. Then CPU is a Ryzen Series 5, I think. And let me check. Details. Oh. Performance and blah 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 blah. Where is it? CPU. It's no wait, I gotta check in settings. I keep forgetting what CPU I have. But it's definitely a Ryzen Series 5. I always like forget the naming conventions of them, so I forget which one it is I have. Device. No. About here. It is Ryzen 5 2600. And then, oh yeah, 32 gigabytes of RAM. That's also pretty important. Though for a while I only had 16 gigabytes because one stick wasn't working. Yeah. Eevee is really nice for rendering stuff like this. Like, I could try rendering it at cycles, it would probably look fine. The backlights probably won't work because I'd have to turn off the shadows. RAM is 32 gigabytes. Cycles is so slow. Look at it. It's actually rendering individual samples. Like, it takes the time it takes to render one sample is as long as it takes to render the whole thing in Eevee, and I'm just not used to it at all. Looks a little bit like softer. I should like go into the shading tab real quick, like pause the render. In order for this to work, like in order for my backlights to work, I would have to turn off the ray visibility for this thingy. First I gotta cancel the render. That's also gonna take a while. Every time I use cycles, I remember why I don't use cycles. Like even in Blender 3.0 that it's relatively fast. As soon as I'm using like subsurface scattering or something, it's really slow. Also, oh no, I crashed Blender by using cycles and trying to interrupt a render. It's punishing me for not liking cycles, I guess. It's fine though, probably it should have autosaved. Just gonna like open a new instance. Close. No, again, this is because I'm using an old alpha, keep that in mind. When did I save it last manually? Before I did all the lighting, I think. Yeah. Recover, autosave. Do love me some good old autosave. Actually, no, it's this one probably. Yeah. Here. Blue Ninja, why am I using the 3.0 alpha? Because the full version of 3.0 doesn't have Sculpt vertex paints in it currently, and I was gonna use an alpha for 3.1, but that didn't work properly. So I'm just using an old alpha that I happen to have installed, which is this one. Calibrate my shaders. And importantly, figure out the vertex colors. They're there. I hope. No, you know why they aren't there? Because it didn't save preferences. Okay, now. Do you have my vertex colors now? No, wait, let me see. No, they're there. Just gotta make them show back up in the render itself. Yep, there. It's fine. Yeah. Jen, how often do I live stream? I don't have a set time to live stream. I try and do something on my YouTube channel every Thursday at like 7 for me, which is when I started the stream. So pretty much if I don't have a video up, then I'll do a live stream, like if I don't have a video to make. But yeah, it's, as I said, it's not like a regular time. I just live stream whenever. Also, I should probably save this. Okay. Let's forget about trying cycles. I'm just gonna stick to Eevee. And wanted to like adjust the contrast and stuff. And the only problem with her ear, her one ear sticking up, or really any amount of ear sticking up, is that it means that her face is really small in the image. Unless I like crop it a bit more, but I don't feel like doing that, so I'm just gonna leave it as it is. So let's see. Color. Brightness and contrast is the easiest. Actually, scratch that. Let's do Rgb Curves. And in view, let me just zoom this out a bit so I can actually see it. I'm pretty much just manually turning up the contrast a little bit here. Yeah, that's looking a bit nicer. A bit extra saturation, a bit more. Don't really have a system for color correcting. I'm just messing around with the curves and seeing what fits. Probably be easier in something like Photoshop or something if I actually knew how to use it, but or Krita even, but it's fine here. Hi Adrian Wolf. Welcome to the stream. It's almost over. I'm literally just doing a little bit of compositing and then that's the end. But it's nice that you showed up anyway. I think I'm gonna keep it like this. Evie was a woman, victory. I have no clue what that means either, but sure. Oh. Why did you decide to fail me? Sometimes it'd be weird. This is the problem when you use experimental features in experimental versions of Blender. And especially like old experimental versions of Blender. But oh well. It works. Anywho. Gonna just adjust the cropping a little bit more. And then we're done for today. Gonna make a final render. And then it's time for me to go. Once again, this was gonna be a short stream and it turned into a 2.5-hour stream. But like in this case, I had a specific goal I wanted to reach, so I did that. Murdoch, I'm glad, because that was literally the only thing we did today. Would be a bummer if after 2 hours of streaming they turned out looking not good. But yeah, I'm also happy with how they turned out. So yes, here. Yep. It almost sucks that Blender doesn't automatically pop out a second screen with a render result. But here it is. So, that's been it for me for this live stream. It looks a bit very red on my other stream, on my other screen. Might have to tweak that a bit. Or I might leave it, who knows. Have a nice day or night or whatever time it is for you guys. For me it's night. And I'll post the finished render on Twitter probably and in the Discord. And yeah. See you all whenever. Also Murdoch asked what I'm gonna do in the next live stream. I have no clue. I don't even know when the next live stream is gonna be. Like this series of live streams I just started because I didn't have the time to actually make a video, because just like streaming for a couple of hours doesn't take as long as making a video. And yes, this has not been like a straightforward road, but turned out with a cute character. She still has a very similar vibe, I think, to that old version of the sculpt I made back in 2019, question mark, maybe? Yeah, 2019. So that has a similar vibe. Some things have stayed almost the same, like the fluff on her chest, though this version actually has a neck now. Like a neck separate from the fluff. And arms, and no longer has a chip in her ear. Yeah. So she looks a bit different. Some things have stayed the same. I wouldn't necessarily say it's like a straight improvement. I think it is a bit of an improvement, I would say, in terms of my sculpting ability. But it's almost more of like a shift in design than an actual change in the quality of the model itself. Which is fine too. So yeah, it's been fun. Have a nice rest of your evening or afternoon or whatever time it is. And see you all next time. And thanks everyone for hanging out, watching the stream, or like series of streams depending on whether you've been here for the other ones or not. And yeah, see you next time, whenever next time will be. And thanks. Yeah. It's been fun.